First of all, thank you very much. I'm most appreciative. Yes, I'm going to do that for you, but I'm going to save it to the end of my little speech. My speech only runs about a half hour. And I'm going to tell you how I got that way. First of all, before I go anywhere, Harry Willett, where did he go? There he is. I want to thank you and your committee. This came as a great surprise to me, and it is a pleasure to be here to accept this award. Thank you so very much. A second little surprise, as I was doing my nationally syndicated television show, I kept looking for people to go racing with us, because there were things that we didn't know anything about. For example, if I went to a drag strip and had to put up with Don Perdone, Big Daddy Don Garlitz, and Shirley Muldowney, that was a handful. So I needed people to help me. I got a guy like Frank Hawley, who would come with me, protect me from these people. And at the end of the drag strip, he'd be down there and say, okay, here's what went wrong. The blue smokeless clutch, this, that, and the other thing. And I kept searching for people. I kept saying to my producers, you know what? I'm screaming these names of these drag racers all the time, all these famous drag racers. There's one in Chicago I'm screaming all the time. Let's get him. Kenny Safford. So we got Kenny Safford. He came on the show more than once. And for me to come up here, sit down, look over, not recognize him. And he says to me, I'm Kenny Safford. My heart pounded. What a thrill. What a thrill to be sitting here with Kenny Safford. And I want you to know, I truly mean that. Most of us sitting in this room, oops, there it is. Did you turn up the volume? That was me. I'm not doing this much. Most of us in this room, most of us, are car guys or car girls. How did I get to be a car guy? Well, I lived in a little community up in Wisconsin, on a lake. There were only 40 homes there. It was pretty desolate. But once a month, my mother would take me to the Woolworth 5 and Dime in Janesville, Wisconsin, so that I could look in the toy department to see if any new cars had come in, any new hot rods, any new stock cars. I was 7 years old. So at 7 years old, I was a car guy, and I was destined to do what I do. So my career began, and I will share with you that this year is my 50th year of being a car guy and in the business. 50 years, that's a long time. You get to do a lot in 50 years. Some people don't even make it to 50 years. So I feel very fortunate. And to accept the Lifetime Achievement Award is very difficult. Because when you've had a great run, enjoyed yourself as much as I have, met the many wonderful people that I have, it's hard to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award when your lifetime has been that great. But don't take it away from me. But I can't go on and accept it all by myself. I need to share it with other people who made it possible. So what I'm going to do is introduce some people to you. I want those people to stand up, give a little wave. I don't want you to applause for them because that takes up time. We'll do all that at the end. Okay? So I'm going to begin now so that I'm not up here all night. First of all, there is a woman in my life who I love dearly. This woman is my soulmate. She is my wife. She is my business partner. She has done more for me than most women do for a million men. I'd like to introduce it to you right now. My wife, Teresa Gabriel.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I also have a daughter. The reason I bring that up is I'm scared to death. She's a car girl. She's driving a new car, and she's 16 years old. That'll scare the hell out of you. Here's Amanda Gabriel. She's the one who sings the national anthem sometimes. Okay. Yes, I did have a big television show. That television show was in 150 markets. It included big stations. WNBC in New York, KNBC in Los Angeles, WLS in Chicago, and a host of stations throughout the United States. One man made that possible for me. He is here today, Tom Edinger. Tom, where is he standing? I had, for the most part, one cameraman who is the greatest in the world. He has been a cameraman for famous people and traveled all over the world. I was lucky to have him with me for about 12 years. We traveled everywhere. We traveled to car museums. We traveled to car races. We did everything together. It was truly magnificent. We had a great time. And we only needed one camera. If I needed 5, he'd do all 5 positions. We worked with great stars, racing stars, movie stars, and for all of that, he received from the National Film Festival the Gold Medallion. He's here with us today. Ken Hyman. The guy who works with us now hasn't been with me real long, a few years, but I'd like to acknowledge him because he certainly does a lot for us, and that's Larry Decker. Larry? There's a man here who taught me more about the mechanics of race cars more than anything else. And the one thing he taught me that I think is kind of neat, he says, you know, car racing is all about geometry. It's how you figure out how the car's going to work against the racetrack. It's all about geometry. And he was so right. He let me build cars, he let me put them together during a point in time when I needed to do something like that. And he's a sweet guy. I love him dearly. Ace Comer. Ace? You know, you learn a lot about business as you go through auto racing and the business of auto racing. And that's what I did for the most part. At Santa Fe, I tried to learn about how Howard Keene, who was the owner, how he operated the business. I was more interested in the business than the cars. Because he told me, he says, understand one thing. He said, I'm running a restaurant here, and those guys out there are simply the sideshow. Which means the money's in the concessions. So I learned that, and I also learned as a promoter, you're never going to get any of that concession money. It's just not going to happen. So the man who taught me most about that, and taught me more about the business of auto racing than anyone else, is the man who knows more about it than anyone else. And I'm so privileged to have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Coors. Also with me today, he doesn't know a stitch about cars, but he traveled with me for 12 years on the road. We went everywhere, and everybody loved him. One guy loved him more than anybody else was Reggie Jackson. We went to see his car collection before it all burned. And we did a television show there. And he loved my buddy. My buddy's been with me for 50 years, and his name is Willie Henson. You have to have someone who can help you write the business, PR releases, booklets, all kinds of things. And that lady is here today. She helped me write so many different things. Did a lot of our PR releases, and is called a publicist, at least for now. Her name is Denise McDonald. Denise.